All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the country and the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to just give it a few seconds for people to join us here on the Zoom. If you're on the live stream, you can say hi as well. We'll check out those comments as well. And as usual with AIGA tradition, if you want to pop into the chat and say where you're tuning in from. It's always good to hear where folks are coming from since we can't see you face to face. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lishan Huang. I host a lot of these things. I am the Director of Design Content and Learning here at AIGA, the Professional Association for Design. And before we get started in earnest, too, just a friendly reminder about our code of conduct. This is a safe, harassment-free space. We'll keep things professional and friendly and we'll be A-okay. So I have to say that for the lawyers and everything else. It looks like we've got Seattle, Northeast Tennessee, Maine, Pennsylvania, a couple Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Texas, Colorado, San Francisco. Awesome. It's getting too fast for me to read, but it looks like we've got a lot of the US covered. I'm currently in Manhattan. And Janice, where are you right now?
I'm currently in Springfield, Massachusetts. So let's see who gets closer.
Awesome. Wonderful. And I'll be hopping on a train back home to Boston after this, a couple hours after this. Anyway, it's 1:31 on my clock, Eastern time. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone again. This is an open house, special open house for career success for creative introverts. We're here with Janice Chaka, who is the instructor of the course. And we're going to just talk today, learn more about Janice, her practice, learn more about the course, and also take your questions, any questions that you might have about the course and about being an introvert and how you can play to your strengths in your own career. So just a little bit about Janice, and we'll just kick it off with our conversation. Feel free to type in the Q&A pod at any time here in Zoom. And if you're watching the live stream, we'll check out the comments as well. So Janice Chaka is an international HR professional, virtual business owner, introvert coach, professional podcaster, and her job is to help you maximize your introvert strengths. So there's a lot that you do. You wear many hats, even though no physical hats right now, metaphorical professional hats, or we can do, I've got my,
Oh, yes.
yay, we've got hats. Awesome. I don't have a Santa hat right now, but I've got my hipster hunter hat. So Janice, welcome to the stream. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are now at the Career Introvert?
Yeah, I can. So how I got here is a happy accident. For the longest while, I used to live in Mexico. I lived in Mexico for 17 years, and it's a very extrovert leaning kind of community. And for the longest while, I thought it was a culture shock and I didn't fit in. And I thought there was, something wrong with me. And I ended up reading the book by Susan Cain. And it was one of those aha moments. You're kind of like, oh, that's why I did this as a child, or oh, this is why this thing, or oh, this is why I don't want everyone to celebrate my birthday with me in the office, because I'd rather just not be in the office celebrating with people I only speak to, like, once a week or what have you. And what had happened was I ended up leaning into that and realizing that a lot of people just find it hard to work in an extrovert organization or an extrovert leaning organization, or an organization that is all about you screaming from the rooftops how wonderful you are, or the people who speak the loudest get noticed the most, and how it can affect whether you get seen for promotion, or if people like you, or if you get that new job, or just you're seen as a team player. I was good at my job. I was efficient at my job, but because I didn't go to all the barbecues or the carne asadas, I did not get any promotions. I was not seen as a team player, even though I had like clients say how wonderful I was or anything of that nature. And so it was really interesting. And I ended up talking to other people about it. And I ended up creating this course because my background is in recruiting. I ended up creating this course that was networking for introverts. And I taught that around the world in like Southeast Asia, in Japan, in Hong Kong, in England, and it kind of took off a little. And I ended up being a speaker in a conference called 7 in 7, where they do 7 continents in 7 years, except last year kind of messed that up a little. And I was talking about
6 out of 7 isn't too bad.
Just 7 in and I ended up talking about, they were trying to recreate the water cooler as a remote worker, and I'd been remote working since SARS, like 2010. And I was like, why are you trying to recreate the water cooler? If introverts weren't there when there was a water cooler, why do you think they're going to be there in the virtual water cooler? And it was a whole discussion about what that looked like. And people assumed that because I was talking about this and because of my background in recruiting, that I was coaching. And they were like, oh, so where can we sign up to be coached by you? I'm like, I held that thought and went away and ended up. And that is how I started coaching introverts about work, because some of it I'd been through, and there's stories and writing books and all that fun stuff. That was a very long-winded answer.
Yeah, that was great. Well, thank you for that background. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about the course and give some of the highlights there. And hopefully our audience members will have some questions and things that they want to talk about as well. So tell us about the structure of the course. So there's actually a couple tracks for managers as well as non-managers. Can you give us an outline of what folks might expect?
So there is the first sort of section, which is the Spark, and that is, you get videos once a month, and you get to watch them on demand whenever you want, and you can go back and take notes. And the idea is these videos are about 20 to 30 minutes long, and they go in depth on a topic like energy management, which is super specific for introverts compared to extroverts, or sort of networking or impact. Well, health boundaries. Creating healthy boundaries is one of the things that makes energy management really work and is really important for how you create and having space and time to be creative. And so there's that Spark tier that you'll have a video each month about a specific topic. And then the next level is the Candle level. So not only would you have access to those videos, but we do live events kind of like this, where we could go more in depth into a topic, learn some strategies about a topic. You get to hang out with me for a bit, as well as connecting with other introverts who might be in that same situation. So you can talk through ideas, and just hearing that someone else is going through the same thing you are, or something slightly different, or a different organization. There's so much value in knowing that you're not alone and building that network and connections without feeling that you're at a networking event, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like that. Oh, we're going to come here and we're going to tell me a fun fact about yourself. Networking, please no. What's fun for me might not be a fun idea for you. I'm not really sure. So there would be live group meetings, and you could then break off into groups to then discuss further about the topic at hand. And then the other tier is the Lighthouse, and that is where you get access to everything you had before. So you've got the videos, you've got the live events that are also once a month, and the in-depth and worksheets and that sort of a thing. But then you also get access to me to have one-on-one coaching. If you have any questions, any situations that have come up at work, or you're looking to get a promotion, or you're looking to change, whatever it is that you might be doing, you get access to coaching with me in increments that you can use throughout the month, and you get them recurring throughout the month. So that is the 3 different tiers, and there's one set for people who are non-managers, and another set, because the skills are slightly different, that might be needed for managers, people of managers. So there are 2 different sets, and they cover 2 different types of information, and the videos are not the same for the 2.
Got it. Maybe this is a good time for our poll. Let's just see in our audience today here on Zoom, who's a people manager at their job and who's not yet a manager, just to see where folks are in their careers. Launch that poll now. You can answer. We've got, leave it open for a minute, but we'll talk in the meantime. We did have a couple questions pop up in the chat already, so let's get to some audience questions. Aaron wants to know, is this all year? So we are launching in January 2022, so next month. Talk a little bit about the timeline of how this course will unfold.
So To answer, is it all year? So we're launching in January. And so the first videos will be dropped at the end of January along with the first live event. And then it will be one video on live event per month until for 12 months. So yes, it is all year, but like answers in that way.
Yeah. And we're in a promotional period right now for folks to sign up. But like hypothetically, if you signed up in February or something, you could still watch the January videos, like they're archived kind of things.
Yeah, you just wouldn't get the live events.
Yeah. Elsbeth wants to know, how long is the coaching for tier 3? So that's the one-on-one coaching dimension.
Oh, the one-on-one coaching, you get 30 minutes per month.
Awesome. Let's check out the poll results. It looks like it's about 75% or I am not a manager and 25% I am a people manager. So it's about a quarter of the folks here today are managers in their current positions.
Nice. That's good to know. Thank you so much.
Great.
I see a lot of action.
Yeah, it looks like there's people who are also just clarifying in the chat that they're not managing people directly, but want to become managers, or folks who are managing interns and managing client relationships and all of that. Let's talk about introvert identity a little bit more closely, because I feel like even though we talk about it sometimes as this like binary, it really is a spectrum, or it might even be situational. And I'm also looking at Sarah's comment here about is it good for an ambivert? And I kind of feel like that myself. Like I give talks all the time, I'm hosting these things all the time. Like it's not, I don't get stage fright or that sort of thing, but like I don't like the sort of mingling that happens beforehand, you know, or the like afterwards it's okay if there's like I was the speaker and there's a context, but if it's just the general like, ooh, who are you, what do you do, all of that sort of stuff, it's like, oh, you know. So yeah, how do you think about that in terms of like the introvert, extrovert, ambivert kind of spectrum or category, and how fungible are they, I guess?
I guess I would say is, from my point of view, my perspective, the introversion is, for me, it's all about where I get my energy. I am like you, I'm very happy to speak and talk to people and do sales calls and all of that good stuff. But I need to balance that with how much time I have alone to recharge. Sort of talking to people and groups of people and being in a loud, crowded noise situation is very draining. And so I need to make sure that I can have time alone or time one-on-one with someone to then recharge my battery and my energy. You might have heard of the introvert hangover, sort of. You go to a party, you're fine, and you just hit this wall and you're like, I just want to go home. I'm done. I can't, I'm tapped out. And that's like, you've expended all your people energy and you need to just go back and recharge. And so the extroversion part of it is, some people like love being in crowded situations and talking to people, and they feed off that energy, and that's great. But what you'll find is very few people at the far extremes. I'm like, far extremes, but you can only see my screen this big. So the far extremes, you'll find that you kind of flow in between. Maybe I found the older I get, the more introverted I get, but that also could be due to last year. That doesn't help. But also, and picking your boundaries and picking who you want to spend that time with. And some people you will find drain your time more than others and drain your energy more than others. Sometimes it's not even like a person thing. It's sometimes just like, no, that person is my energy vampire and I can't deal with that right now. But no, very few people are one or the other. They just kind of, they flow in between the state, depending on who you're talking to, who you're with, how you're feeling, your health, the situation. But generally, you know that you're an introvert when you find joy in recharging by yourself or alone.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's a great definition about that, where it's like situational, but also about like where you're drawing your energy recharge in that way. We have a few audience questions that are great. Emily in the chat is saying that she's looking into leaving a corporate environment to become an entrepreneur, start their own business. Is this course something helpful for people working outside of a corporate organizational structure?
Oh, yes. Because you then have A, more flexibility in what you can and can't do,
Mhm.
and B, being able to know what you need to manage your energy and therefore manage your clients' expectations and how they contact you. For example, I have an autoresponder on my email that says, I will get back to you in 24 hours, because I'm not one of those people that's going to sit there at my email all the time. So yes, and that's what I did. I moved from corporate to non-corporate. So yes, that is, there's value there to be had for that, for sure, and stuff I wish I'd knew when I first started my business that I now employ in my business.
Yeah. Ellie wants to know, for the Spark tier, does that get access to emailing questions or access to the worksheets? I guess maybe that's in contrast to the, yeah, like the in-person, or not the in-person, sorry, the live coaching. Does the Spark tier have like email or kind of individual access in that sense through correspondence?
That would be through more like the Candle would have the email option. You would get worksheets with the Spark for the videos.
Got it. And the
Good question.
Spark, to clarify for folks, is like that's the tier that everybody has access to. You put the videos, you put the worksheets.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Just scrolling down. Matthew, how do you manage balancing your need for alone time and your interactions with people? That's a big question.
I mean, I can answer personally.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing journey, because things change, projects change, people change. But for me, what has worked is I now realize I'm not a morning person. So very rarely you will see me do an event at 9 a.m. in the morning. I work better from like 11 onwards. My most productive hours are from 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. That's why I get a ridiculous amount of work done, and I don't understand why. And as far as the alone time and interaction with people professionally, I specify how much time I have on my calendar for people to book. I have a calendar link, and it's very much like you can only book from this time to this time, and that's it. And my calendar is set up in a way that there's a buffer in between meetings. I don't do back-to-back meetings, as well as there's only a certain amount that I can get in one day. And then the middle of my day, I try and buffer as well with alone time, so I can go read a book or I don't know, do laundry, whatever it might be, to just go ahead and get some downtime. But it is an ongoing journey, along with living with someone who else might not be an introvert is also can be challenging.
Yeah. I guess I could take that one as well, so we can look at different perspectives. But I feel like the last year and a half has made it a little bit easier to balance the not being around people thing. But I find that I actually need the alone time before I do a thing. Like I had my first in-person talk at an event last night. It was like the first time in 2 years. I found myself, even though there's no like green room or anything, I was just like more mellow. Like if people came up to talk to me, I would like make some chit chat, but I wasn't like working the room. And then afterwards, it was like, okay, I can open up now. I've like done the thing, and I think that's more about there's managing just kind of public speaking stuff, energy as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about it. Um, let's see, what Tanvi wants to know, what are the strengths of being an introvert that you are going to help strengthen? And do we all share the same introversion strengths?
No, we're all individuals as humans. Some of it is to be discovered. Some of it, you know what your strengths are. Some of it, you don't realize that they're strengths. A lot of people assume that introverts like to write, and that is one of their strengths. That is not true for everyone. I personally hate writing. Hasn't stopped me publishing books because I just do voice to text. Like there's ways around what people assume and what you do. Listening tends to be working one-on-one. Dealing with people one-on-one tends to be a very large introvert strength, along with the listening to what people want rather than telling them what you think they need. But there's ways to enhance what your strengths are and gain some extra knowledge and extra skills to put in your toolbox when you get in situations that you don't like or are unexpected, or you're forced to do a a Zoom meet and greet or whatever it might be. There's different situations that sometimes don't come up or will come up when you change jobs or do a new thing. And so that is things that you might learn.
Sarah Vonan, I hope I'm saying this person's name right, has a question. What are the learnings or books you can refer on this subject? Or I guess, are there a couple books that you might recommend now for folks who want to get a head start on the course?
On the course, no. I mean, lots of people probably read Quiet by Susan Cain. If not, that's normally where a lot of people start. A friend of mine, Matthew Pollard, wrote Introvert's Edge, and he's got one to networking and one to, there's a recent one out. A friend of mine also has Career Clarity, The Secret Life of Introverts, The Introvert Advantage. I've got one on networking for introverts, but that's like in-person thing, so maybe at a later date. Introvert Insights is a book where I've interviewed women around the world for International Women's Day, and they're all introverts, and just to see all the different jobs that people can do as introverts and how they run businesses or that sort of a thing. So those are some books I could recommend off the top of my head.
Wonderful. And I think I saw a question that was more logistical as well about the live sessions. Those are like live on Zoom. So like everyone is going to be online. There's not going to be like people in a room with Janice that you're missing out on if you join in online. We're all going to be in our own homes or offices on Zoom for that. Thank you for that clarification question. Nicole was saying that she has 5 back-to-back meetings today and is definitely going to be drained soon. So I hope you can find some downtime, even if it's just a couple minutes between those. And Crystal was also asking for a list of the books in the chat. We can follow up after the session and get you all that book list that Janice just shared. Josh has a question about kids and family and how people can juggle that if they've got kids at home for finding their alone time to recharge energy-wise. Any recommendations or thoughts?
I will say I saw a lot of videos of people in their cars last year just for like some time alone. But it's communicating what you need and why you need it, and then setting those healthy boundaries and helping people understand, because there is a lot of misinformation about introversion coming from dictionaries to society to culture, but people don't, and everyone is different. Like what you need for alone time might not be the same as what I need for alone time. So communicating what you need and why you need it, and that it might change, and that's totally fine, is really, really important.
Got it. We'll jump down to Aaron's logistical question here. Will we be on video and can we talk during the live Zoom classes?
If you want to.
If you want
it
to.
Is optional. I'm not going to force
Janice,
you to.
I think you already promised that there's going to be no fun fact about you warm-ups, yeah?
Yeah, none of that.
Okay.
None of that.
Yeah, today we're doing a webinar because as you can see, there's like 150 people here, so it's a little hard to moderate that if everyone's on camera, but for the, once you've registered for the courses, the Zoom live sessions will be Zoom meetings and not webinars. All right, so many audience questions here. I'm just trying to get to make sure I don't miss anything. Another question from Elizabeth. Do you discuss the how to work the room aspects of things in your course for people who identify as like extremely shy?
Work the,
I guess in a sort of networking kind of sense.
I talk about how to work maybe like your peers or your manager, but as in like a networking event per se, because it's a little different on Zoom. It's something that we can talk about. If that's something that people want to talk about, we could totally bring that up for one of the live Zoom sessions. Kind of lives. But as far as like working a small networking like in Zoom, yeah, we can totally talk about that, and that is something that can be covered in the course. That's one of the things about the course is the content is for you, and so the base content will be set and structured, but anything extra or any questions that you have, joining the live sessions is the best way to do that. Because stuff comes up during the year that you just hadn't thought about. And so you get a chance to discuss it, not just with me, but with fellow creatives that are in similar situations.
Yeah. We've got this comment from Terry, which I thought was really insightful. Terry says, or I guess there's a question, have you read The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine and Aaron? And the comment part is basically that she sees these parallels between the highly sensitive persons, and introverts in this way. And so I guess if you are familiar with that body of literature, do you have any thoughts about it?
I have not read the book, but I do have a lot of co-workers, peers that are highly sensitive people, and also introverts and or extroverts. And yes, there is definitely, Venn diagram wise, there's definitely an overlap with that for sure. It's just, you know, we're all humans. We all have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of the other, and it's figuring out what works for you.
All right. Amanda has a course content question. Will there be exercises and a tactical roadmap for how to practice the skills on a daily basis between the live sessions?
Yes.
All right.
Short, but
very easy answer. Short but sweet. I feel like that's the thing with any course, right? It goes back to like, there are the kind of classroom times, and then there's the home practice that's so important in between those touch points.
Yeah, for sure.
Are there, this is Susan here, are there going to be maximum class sizes? If we get 100 live participants again, it might be hard to get something out of it.
I'm going to say yes to that one, because I don't want to run something with 100 people. Because then, you know, I want to be able to give attention and that sort of a thing. So yes, there will be maximum class sizes, because yeah, I don't want to do 100.
We'll cap it
to 2 or 3 or whatever, yeah. But like definitely not that.
This is the first time we've done this, so if there is like that much demand, we'll figure out how to break it up into different sections to make it work. So rest assured, we won't have 100-person discussion sessions. Kelly wants to know, what time of day will the live sessions be, and will they be recorded?
Yeah, I think we agreed, was it 1 or 3 o'clock? The last Monday of the month, and I think it is 1 p.m. Eastern, and yes, they will be recorded, to my knowledge. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. For most AIGA programming, we aim for like afternoon, midweek, or weekdays Eastern time, which gets to either lunchtime or morning for the rest of the country. That's usually worked, but they will also be recorded as well. Related to the highly sensitive persons, people comment and question, Tanvi has a different question about communication on the spectrum for people who might be different from neurotypicals. Is that something that seems also introvert adjacent? Is that something you've covered or addressed?
It is not something specifically that is there isn't like a specific month for that. There isn't a specific video just aimed at that, but in general, the overall of how to communicate and deal with different types of personalities is definitely something that is covered.
Got it. Few more logistical curriculum questions. Ruben, hi Ruben. Ruben wants to know, let's see, I sense from the topics outlining what's covered between the individual manager tracks that differences are mostly in the kind of modality. Can you help us better understand what kind of overlap there is between the two tracks, the manager, non-manager track, and to help people decide which is the best path to go down? Let me add Matthew's question. We can kind of batch these together. I think this will help us get a little bit more specific. But okay. Basically, in Matthew's case, he is trying to decide between the manager and non-manager track. And it it seems like he may not be managing now, but could use the skills to become a manager. So is this for people who already have the background to improve management skills, or what about people who are maybe about to be promoted or they're aspiring to be promoted soon? Is this a good sort of prep for that? I guess that's kind of the question.
Okay, I would say both, because I have managers come to me and still would go through something very, very similar, because a lot of people become managers and are not given management training. They're just like, oh, you're a really good individual contributor, so you should be a manager. That's not always how it works. And there's always something to learn. Anyone who's a good leader or a good manager is always looking for, like, what have I missed? What don't I know? Or I have a bunch of introverts in my team, or I have a bunch of extroverts in my team. How can I serve them better? So there's always something to learn there. And even if you are a manager, if you're not a manager, both would apply.
Awesome. Kelly wants to know, will we own the recordings of the lives and the recorded classes, or will they go away? So they will be available in a password protected system that will be hosted. Yeah, hosted by AIGA. So I think ownership is one of those like lawyer questions. Like, you'll have access to stream them once you've registered for the course. But like, yes. Let's see. There's a lot of questions that I'm seeing around the job search process as well for introverts. Like, are there things like, resume advice and portfolio refinement to help sort of people who are introverts match their experience to some of their introvert superpowers, or like for the individual coaching, things like interview prep for jobs or for promotions and things like that?
Yes. How to beat the AI algorithm that's reading your resume, because it's not a human. And how to interview, how to, because to be even me at this point, I'm not good at selling myself. If you put me in an interview with people I don't know, it's like, I do stuff. Even the intro that LaShawn like read to start with, I had to get someone else to write that for me, because I'm like, I don't know what I do. And she's like, you have all these things, here you go. So having that, looking at resumes, creating a portfolio, where to host it, how to host it, why it's important, what looks good, what doesn't look good. I have friends who are UX designer, career specialists. Like, there's all sorts of information that's helpful there. And just how to, it's exhausting. The job search process is exhausting, and how to change your thought process around it, as far as getting rejected all the time, or it's a numbers game, or researching into the right culture that would work for you. Do you need a micromanager? Do you not need a micromanager? Is remote the way to go? Maybe you don't work remote and that works out better for you. And finding these things out about organizations and the questions to ask and who to talk to is super useful. And yes, that's stuff that I would cover as one-on-one coaching.
Great. Looks like there's just a few people who have jumped onto the chat more recently, or they've just joined the stream more recently, and they were just asking about basically the same question we were talking about. Or will there be prep for like interviews or coaching around specific like CV, resume kind of things? And the short answer to that was yes. In the private coaching, those are things that can be tailored to the folks who sign up for that.
Yeah, for
sure. Amanda in the chat, I think maybe a few people are in this situation. So this is a great question about explaining the business value of taking the course for employers or managers, for people who might get sponsorship from their companies, from their managers to take the course. Are there sort of talking points that you could share about that in terms of the value of getting your employees to take this course? And we could also follow up with any marketing stuff too, if that's going to be helpful for folks.
Yeah. What I would say is, if you've been put into a management role and you haven't been given any management training, this is a very good way of getting that management training that is specific to you and how you work, and will help you be a better manager moving forward. If it's from like that point of view. If it's from a non-manager point of view and you want to take this course, if you're given a personal development budget, that could be included as part of it. And the other thing is, if they want you to perform better, this is about performance. Learning how to manage your energy, manage your time, manage expectations, creating an impact, networking, all of these things in the like even in just 3 to 6 months will help you be better at your job and give you more space and time for creativity that you need to go ahead and be successful, as well as building that inner network of people that you can bounce ideas off, or like, hey, look at this design, I had to do this thing, like, what do you think about it? And learning new techniques from these people. So business wise, it's a case of this will improve my performance and therefore will help their bottom line and their return on investment. And letters and acronyms that they all like to hear but don't really know what they mean.
Also,
should I not have said that? I feel like I shouldn't have said that. Okay.
No, I appreciate the candor. I'm sure other folks do too. Do you also cover social media for introverts? That was a question I'm seeing here now. So there's the obviously in-person or the verbal communication on Zoom or conference calls, but social media is just so important for a lot of creatives these days, and having some sort of presence at least. And so is that something you cover? Do you have any sort of quick tips for that?
I'm going to go for the quick tips: automation.
Okay.
Evergreen and automation is the two things I will say. Create content that is evergreen, and then try and get it posted, automated, like just batch like a month's worth of content and go out. But also don't feel you have to be on all the social medias. Pick one, get real good at it, get a good system going, and then do another one and then another one if you really need to, is what I would say.
Yeah. Not everyone needs to be on TikTok, and that is okay.
Yeah. Because it's time, and it also feels, it can feel very personal, and like everyone's going to know everything about my life, and it feels kind of invasive. Social media can definitely feel invasive to people, and so it's like I'm there. You can see my website, you can see stuff about me, but if I was to ask you what my favorite color was, most people would not know. You do have a lot of control over what you put out in the social media. It's just knowing that you have that control and what you can and want to let out there and what you want to keep in. But yeah, pick one and make that your space, and then if you need to, do others, but just direct people here. This is the place I'm at, and if you don't like it, tough.
Yeah, I feel like just resisting some of that FOMO stuff is just so important too, right? Thinking about like, you have limited time and resources, like you don't have to create content for every single platform if it's not relevant to your industry or just not authentic to who you are.
Mm-hmm. And repurposing is also a fun thing.
Yeah. Catherine has another logistical questions. Will streaming access to the course content recordings be available after the course is completed, as long as you are an AIGA member? I think once you've signed up, you'll have access to the recordings. I don't know when the sort of expiry date is to that access, but it's the course is open to AIGA members and non-members. So in case like your membership lapses or you forget and it takes you a month or so to like re-register, I think as a member, as long as you were registered for the course, you'll still have access to the content. So there's these other questions that are around this theme of like self-promotion and networking, and just talking about yourself, like up talking your strengths, I guess. Do you have any tips for navigating some of these situations? I feel like there's often pressure for creatives, especially freelancers or people with these independent practices, to like always be selling or to have it to sort of like self-promote in ways and times that are not always comfortable for people. And Janice, you yourself are a business owner, and so you have to deal with this, and I've had to deal with this in running my business too. So what are your thoughts on that?
I have I'm still not good at it. This is an ongoing process. I'm going to say that to start with. I'm not, but for me, what has worked has been relationship building. I am not the kind of person that needs a high touch relationship. I have people I speak to once a year, once every 3 months, and it's not even speaking. It might be just send a message or a voice message or whatever works for you. As far as the self-promotion, what's worked for me is having my extrovert friends write about me. So if I need a bio, I get an extrovert friend and like, what would you say about me? And they come back with all this stuff. I'm like, I would never say that. I really? Oh. And then I don't have to think about it. I can do it for other people. I'm great at writing other people's resumes, all that sort of thing. But for myself, it's just hard. And I'm admitting that, and that's okay. And so technically I outsource it by getting someone else to talk about or write about me. And then I have to commit to just putting it out there rather than tweaking it and messing with it, because that's what I really want to do.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, just this sort of the peer like critique and feedback, or getting your friends or trusted colleagues to help boost you up as well, right? Because sometimes you look at stuff and it's just like, oh, this is so cringy, but if it's like actually true, then like that's a way to put your best foot forward for these sort of things publicly, and it's for the people who are going to hire you. It's not for you in some ways, right? So it's like, you also have to get over yourself a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's like great every time, but yes.
Let me say this on mic for the folks who may not be reading the chat, but we will follow up about the length of the recording access after registration and see how long that will stay online, and we can follow up with registrants. We're still figuring out some of the tech things in the back end, so don't have an immediate answer. Aaron wants to know, will the live meetings also be on the last Monday of the month during the year of the course?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what we agreed. Yeah. Unless, everyone says, no, we don't want Mondays. We want some other day that doesn't exist yet, or Wednesdays, or, pick a day. But right now it seems to be Monday.
All right, Monday, fun day. Let me check the LinkedIn to see if there's any questions there, just to make sure I haven't missed anybody from these other platforms.
We're on LinkedIn.
We're live streaming right now.
LinkedIn people.
Hi, LinkedIn people. Hi, Zoom people. Let's see. Mary has a question. Hopefully you're still there, or you can watch the recording. How do you build connections and break into an industry, like a new industry, if you're an introvert? So I think maybe it's a variation on the previous question about just the general networking and getting the job, but how do you pivot into maybe a different aspect of a creative industry, or a different kind of role as an introvert?
This is why it's really good to have like your virtual board. So I have a group of people that I meet with once a week, and they're from totally different industries. So one's into like sales and marketing, and the other one does something else. And we all get together and talk about whatever's happened that week. Being friends with people just not in, because being in your industry is great, and just networking within your industry is fine, but it makes you very siloed. Having different people from different industries that you just talk to on a semi-regular basis, or get ideas from, or follow, is really helpful. And to build that network and to build those relationships. It's not even about the network, it's those relationships. It's always valuable, no matter what you're doing or when you're doing it. And just reaching out and being like, hey, I don't know anything about your industry. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Or I've read this book or this article, and just do it one at a time. Don't feel that you have to, like, I have to reach out to 18 people and then I have to have time to talk to these 18 people. No, take a breath and go ahead, and just one person a month is fine. It takes time. No one builds their network in 2 days. That's just not how that exists. So don't overburden yourself. Think about strategically where you might want to go, what you might want to do, and then see the type of people who are in that area, and approach them, or be at events that they're at, or find out where they hang out. Maybe they have like a Discord or a forum or somewhere on the internet that isn't like, hey, we have to have a call kind of a thing, if that works better for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea, this idea of a personal board. So how did you assemble that? Like, is it actually like a board that you convene, or is it more like metaphorical and you're like talking to these people one-on-one individually?
No, we meet. It's called the Get Stuff Done Club. And stuff. And no, we've met once a week for, I think we're on year 4 now. I am the glue that keeps these kind of things together. And it started off by accident. I think we were going to do 6 months, and then we just kept it going. Like every Thursday we just meet. And obviously it's got to put, we're kind of friends, and there's like some personal stuff and some business stuff in there. But the great thing is just the different angles that we can come up like one thing for is really, really useful. Like I know that my blind spot, for instance, say my blind spot is finance. So then I go find somebody who's like super into finance, but they are not into HR, for example. And then we can riff off each other and help each other. It's all about helping other people.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like there's just a wonderful give get there, and like you've created this community where people have genuinely become friends.
Yeah.
A couple accessibility questions about the course. The first one is, will the recordings have accurate closed captions, no auto captions, which is what's going on right now? I think that's something we can follow up with as well, because this is a new format course for ours. Like we do that for all AIGA conferences and other things. So that makes sense in the case for this as well. So we'll figure that out logistically. Because we work with an outside service for that, it may take a couple business days to get the fully accurate human reviewed captions. But in the meantime, there's, the next best thing is the sort of auto captions for attending live or watching the immediate playback for those.
And also a transcription, just in general.
Yes.
We'll have a transcription available as well.
We'll have the transcript, which I think is great, like universal design for everyone too, in case you missed it and you just wanted to focus on an aspect of it. So yeah, that just usually takes 24 to 48 hours after we get a recording from Zoom. See, another accessibility related question is somebody is currently unemployed and they don't think they can justify the cost of the Lighthouse level course right now. Could you recommend other ways of maybe like a shorter small group kind of experience, or like a shorter individual one-on-one experience with you, Janice, or some other alternative to that?
I know that, for example, like you could do individual sessions, like an hour or 45 minutes, which would be $150, and you know what you're going to talk to. The other option is like you could listen to my podcast. My podcast goes over a couple of things that I go through in this course, but maybe not as in depth because it's a very short podcast. There could be a group that could get put together as a possibility. If we get like, shoot me an email if there's enough people that kind of want to do something like that, and we could do it through AIGA. It's like AIGA. That's a possibility. I'm not shooting anything down. I want to know what is possible for people and what they're looking for. But I would say we can follow up. I would say LaShawn and team can follow up.
Yeah, and I'll echo that from the AIGA side as well. Again, this is like a course that we're developing to launch in January, but we're still learning through the open houses, right? This is a way for you all to learn more about the course and what's coming up, but also for us to learn from you all about what your needs are and just where you're at in terms of affordability, accessibility. We're trying to think things through to make it work for as many people as possible while tailoring it to specific audiences of creatives who are introverts. Kelly wants to know about the Get Stuff Done Club. Was this like your own like kind of social professional group, or is it something that's like open to other members, or like is something you encourage people to like start their own Get Stuff Done clubs?
Yeah, start your own. There is somebody out there that has an official Get Stuff Done club, and that's someone who's kind of bromaddy, and so not someone I would necessarily recommend. But the one that I have is with some people that I know, but please feel free to start your own. And if you want any hints and tips, like I'm happy to throw those out. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Let's see if there's any more questions in the queue. I think I've gotten to most of the audience questions. If I missed yours, it's not on purpose. There's just been a lot scrolling through here. So just feel free to retype it in the chat or in the Q&A pod. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'll turn it back to Janice and say, are there other things that we haven't covered in the audience questions that you want people to know about the course?
It's a year, it's a journey. You get fresh content or fresh access or fresh events to go to. And And like LaShawn said, this is something that we are building. We are finding out what people want, what's helpful, what's useful to you. We're welcome to all feedback. If you have questions, please send them to us all and we will answer it, or put them in the chat, answer them live. But if you don't want us to answer it live and you want to do a private one, that is also fine. I will say I'm definitely not about pitting extroverts against introverts. It's not about that. It's about we're all human, we're all individual. We will have our own needs and wants and ideas of what success looks like. Don't be too hard on yourself. As far as that, don't think that, because there's a comparison thing that's going on right now, and social media doesn't help with that, with like Instagram and TikTok, and this person is doing this and this person is doing that. And what kind of gets introverts trapped is seeing these extrovert ways of doing things. And you're human, you're an individual, you're unique. You need to find a way that works for you. And during this next 12 months, we will discuss all of these things, because like LaShawn said, how he likes to get alone time before his events and then afterwards he's fine. Whereas I'm like the opposite, but we're still like, it's a thing. So get to meet fellow creatives, get to hang out and learn with fellow creatives and who understand you and will not belittle you or think you are weird or unsociable or not a people person because you are an introvert. And once you kind of lean in and accept it, life gets better. You stop caring so much about certain things, to be fair. I don't know, what else can I say? I'm stoked about it, but like I'm always stoked about it.
One thing that really clicked for me, Janice, when you were telling the AIGA team about how you were thinking about the course, was that it's not conversion camp to turn introverts into extroverts. Just to I know you haven't indicated that at all, but I feel like at first when I was trying to understand it, it's like, okay, like, is it just sort of like survival skills so people can thrive? But it really is learning more about the curriculum, talking to you about it, is about like introverts tapping into what's already there, even though we live in a sort of extrovert biased world in this sort of sense, but it's not conversion camp.
No, none of that. None of that. Yeah. Thanks for saying that, because I guess that's what some people might think. It's like, oh, not another networking course. It's not that. It's not that.
Yeah, and it's different, even though we have talked about issues of like how to streamline your resume and like talk about interviewing skills. It's also different from like a personal branding kind of class or networking class. And so I think it's important to just make these distinctions, that it is about like your career and your personal growth as a professional, but it's not about the sort of branding and networking stuff as the lead.
Spot on. Nice.
I'll also say this on mic, since Susan posted it in the chat so everybody gets it, but we are doing a early registration discount if you register by December 15th. We've posted a link in the chat as well, or you can find it on AIGA.org. Just look up the Career Success for Creative Introverts. If you're on the go right now and need to Google it, we'll share that in an email with everybody who signed up for this as well. Are there any other audience questions that we can get to? Have a little bit of time. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Somebody wants to know, they identify as kind of an awkward person generally, and honestly, both tracks sound pretty compelling. Might even be interested in taking both at the same time. Is this possible or encouraged? Or if somebody feels like they might want to do both, like how should they navigate this?
It is possible. I don't know if encouraged is the right word, but I get the awkwardness. That's fine. Yes, it is possible. Encouraged, go right on ahead. And if you are, like, let me know, and we'll make sure that you have any support that you need as far as being able to have. It's not like it's a huge caseload where you have to do all these things and it's going to take hours out of your day or your working week. But just being able to digest the information and go ahead and use it like straight away. It should be fine. And I don't think the content is released on, we're not sure if the content's going to be released on the same day for both, but then again, you have the entire month to kind of hang out and read it and video and watch it whenever you want. So yeah, It's all in your control. You get to do it whenever you want.
Yeah, and there's only one Janice, so the live Zooms are not going to happen at the same time.
Um, yeah, that's true. There is only one me. I don't have a clone.
Next up, maybe in the metaverse we can have different clones of ourselves. Okay, we'll move away from that dystopia for now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just a few more logistical things. Live classes, are they an hour long? How long are the live Zoom sessions?
Yeah, an hour. Maximum 90 minutes if people keep talking. But yeah, nothing more than that because we all don't have energy for that. We're all zoomed out as it is. Like,
yeah. And then we're getting a book recommendation question again, but I think this one is about introverted freelancers more specifically. Do you have specific book recommendations for freelancers who identify as introverts?
No, I don't. I haven't read one. I'm gonna ask my board if they have any, or maybe one needs to be written.
Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't the answer you wanted, but
no worries. And Gina, yes, this is being recorded. You can go to AIGA Design on LinkedIn or on YouTube immediately after. I think it's also on Facebook if you use Facebook for video. And you can watch the replay right away in 5 minutes when we're done with this. And then we'll also do a like human captioned version of this for accessibility purposes and post that on aiga.org in a couple business days. So it will be there. Yeah. All right. Well, any other last questions or closing words of advice or motivation you want to give, Janice? No pressure.
Words and advice and motivation will be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Don't feel the pressure of having to do stuff that you know doesn't work for you. You have an innate feeling and knowing of what works for you and what doesn't. I know that the industry and the community and everything else like has us working 9 to 5, which might not necessarily work for you. There are ways to figure out how, even if you are in a 9 to 5, that can work for you. But if you don't take care of yourself, you can't be creative. You can't do the work that you are here to do. So take care of yourself first, even if it's little and often during the day. That is what I would advise. Was that motivational? I don't even know.
Yeah, I thought it was very motivational. I think it's important, but just because of the last like 2 years and because of like holiday season too, right? There's like a lot of stresses involved with that. I know that this is the time of year in our capitalist society where we're asking people to spend money on things, but like this is something that is an investment in yourself and your career. It's a year-long kind of thing. So it's like not just a shiny new gadget or thing like that to look into. So we understand that it is a financial commitment and a time commitment for folks and to be considered seriously. So that's why we're doing this open house and things like this. But if you do have more individual questions, please do email us and we can talk and get back to you on some of these logistical questions we couldn't answer immediately today. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today. It's good to see some familiar names here in the chat as well. Hopefully we'll see you in the course as well. And if we don't talk to you in the next few weeks before the course launches, happy holidays. Thanks, everyone.